Hello guys and welcome. In today's video I'm going to be ranking all of the Resident Evil 4 Remake bosses from worst to best. So let's not waste any more time, and spoiler warning for the entire game, and let's begin. In the last spot I have Martinisha, the test subject, and I wouldn't even consider it as a boss fight, but I'm putting here just in case because there's not much of a fight. All you have to do is have a chase scene and then some quick time events and the monster is dead. So for me, maybe that's interesting for some, but for me that puts this boss fight in the last spot. In the 13th spot I have Delago. Now this fight is fun, but because this is one of my favorite games, basically all of the boss fights are fun. So in terms of actually fighting it, I think it's quite a repetitive boss. All you do is just throw javelins at it. When he charges that, you just hit him a couple times and repeat. And I think to me that's just a bit bland, and even though it's fun, it doesn't get higher on this list. In the 12th spot I have Garrador, and now to me he's in a weird spot because the actual fight is really fun. Like, you have to avoid hanging metals that make sounds if you touch them, and this boss fight only hears you by sound and he doesn't see, and you have to somehow sneak around and hit him in the back. But I killed him basically with a couple shots, stun locked him and then killed him. So there wasn't really much of a fight, so I cannot really say it was that fun, but it was unique enough to not put it last.
Gentlemen.
In the 11th spot I have Dos Gigantes. This boss fight is fun. There's a giant hole that you can open, and if you stun one of the El Gigantes, they actually get dropped in the lava and get one shot. And I think that's a very fun mechanic, especially in the second El Gigante that Luis helps you. He puts TNTs to break his armor and then you can kill him normally. I think that's very fun. But at that point you already fought like two of them. One of them you actually fought and the other just threw some rocks at you and you had to run away. But still, at that point I seen enough El Gigantes, and to me just kind of took away a bit from the experience. And for that reason I think it deserves a solid 11th place.
Oh, such confidence. Bring it, rookie!
At the 10th spot I have Jack Krauser, and at first, before making the list, I didn't expect him to be that low, but thinking about it, yes, the lead up to the fight is fun. You have to go around his traps, dodge his shots. It's very interesting. But the moment he transforms and the actual battle begins, he's really kinda bland. It still is fun to dodge and deflect his hits, but what he does is most of the Resident Evil bosses in the series. He's just walking to you and just hits you. Hits you, and you know, it's still fun, but because it's not really unique, it goes quite low on this list.
Jesus Christ.
In the 9th spot I have El Gigante, and the main reason for it being this high, or much higher than something like Dos Gigantes, is because I actually prefer the 1v1 style of fighting, and I think for some reason, I don't know, maybe because of the setting, I just have a lot of more fun fighting El Gigante solo than in a duo.
Sorry, big guy. Can't let you go that way.
In the 8th spot I have El Gigante, but from separate ways. At first I wanted to put them together because to me it's basically the same, but I will admit the Separate Ways El Gigante has, I think, a more unique design choice in a fight, and I actually prefer it to the point where I actually decided to separate them, but because they're not really different, it just goes right above the non-DLC El Gigante. In the 7th spot, I have Osmond Saddler from Separate Ways. And this fight is, I think, a bit of a step up. I think this is one of those fights that I actually really started liking. But in terms of actual fighting, there's some cool QTEs you have to do during the fight. He has some interesting moves. Some of them you have to run quite far away to not get hit. I think his attacks are quite fast, which makes the gameplay much faster, at least it feels like it. And some of his attacks need to be blocked while standing behind some structures, and I think that makes the fight much more interesting. But overall, it's just a fun, unique fight that overall isn't as memorable as the other fights upcoming. In the 6th spot, I have Ramon Salazar. This fight is one of those fights that you either love him or you hate him. And I'm more of a lover in this case. I think his spit attack, even though sometimes a bit annoying and he sometimes glitch through the walls or the stairs, it's still a really fun fight. I cannot really say why it's more fun than others because it doesn't really have anything unique going for it apart from the spit attack, but I just really enjoy fighting him. In the 5th spot, I have the Black Robe, and I think with time probably this is gonna be a bit higher and higher on the list, but right now it sits still at a very, very high rating, and it's mainly because of how, in my opinion, how unique the fight is. It has clones that are not real and you don't deal damage to them, but if you don't shoot these clones, they can actually hit you where you have to parry them or you will get hit. He can teleport as well, and even though it's hard to see the difference, I think he has like 3 phases. At first just fighting normally, then starting the illusions, and then just being faster at doing them. And I think the fight as a whole flows very well, and because of a few of unique mechanics, it's a really fun and a memorable fight in my opinion.
You have forsaken only body.
In the 4th spot, I have Osmond Saddler, but the final boss of Resident Evil 4. I think it's a fun fight. You could say that having big bosses that you have to shoot big targets like eyes is kinda already a known tactic and it kinda takes away from the experience. To me, it isn't the case. I just like the fight as a whole. I think it's very good. But I especially like the, let's call it, second phase of the fight where he transforms, leaves you on the platform, and you have to dodge his tentacles and shoot his eye until you get an RPG from Ada. And I think that part, you kind of need to learn the attack patterns. Even though it's quite simple to learn them, it still brings a lot of fun to the fight, and I think that to me makes it really enjoyable. Now we're coming to the top 3, and for the 3rd place is Verdugo. And to me, I think he's just a blast to fight. Like, I really enjoy the fight, especially in a way I never not killed him, so I'm not even too sure if you can do that. But I think it's an optional fight because you can just go into just wait for the elevator and then just go into it and escape. But I never wanted to do that because the fight is so much fun. First of all, the quick time events I think are very fun when he's just hitting you with his tail or trying to hit you, and I think the whole repetitive cycle of dodging his tail, then freezing him, shooting him with a bunch of bullets, then fighting with him a bit until he goes back into the walls, you know, he's in the walls, and then you run to the other freeze machine, whatever you want to call it, I forgot the name. And that cycle, I think it's very enjoyable. I think for some people maybe it's not much fun, but to me, this simplicity I really enjoyed, and I think it's one of my top fights. It might even go higher on the list in the future.
God, I thank you for your gift.
You want to get ugly? Let's get ugly.
In the second spot I have Bitores Mendes, and this guy is kinda high on the list, but I think it's very justifiable. I think in terms of the actual fights, I think he's one of the most unique in my opinion. The first phase is very simple. All you do is just shoot him a bunch. You can change elevations if you want for certain attacks, but I think the fight is very simple to the point that if you're not playing on professional, you won't even really get to see the fight. He dies quite fast, but it's still fun. But the second phase is so good. He sometimes takes out his barrels that you need to explode, then you need to change elevations so you could dodge certain attacks, then he throws logs where you have to run fast to dodge them and be strategic to understand how much space you have to not get cornered and just hit by the debris. And the fact that he comes up close and you can still dodge them. I even seen someone kill him with a knife, I think, because of that. So I think the fight, a lot of stuff is going on, but everything seems really intuitive and flows very well. And to me, this left a really great impression, not just on the boss, but on the game as a whole. After that, I really understood how good this game is.
Can't stand the clingy type. Time to end this for good.
In the first spot, I have none other than Pesanta or a U3. And this fight isn't actually in the base game. They actually added it in the DLC. But wow, boy, this fight slaps. It's so good. I think I don't even know what to talk about it. Like, the first phase, I think it's already top 5. It's kind of like a Verdugo, where there's not really like a lot of stuff going on or something unique. But I think just the fight in general to me is very fun and enjoyable. I forgot he has a phase 2. And when I walked up to him to take the medal, when he detached his tail and transformed and you had to fight his tail, that was so good. And the fight actually is very fun with all of different little attacks that are kind of small mechanics that you have to understand. I think the fight in general, I just had a blast. I was playing the game with a smile on my face and thinking, damn, this game is goated. And yeah, that was my list of all the Resident Evil 4 bosses, ranked from worst to best. Tell your opinions in the comments, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.